I know you all are eager and curious. Thank you for waiting. Like Julie has already mentioned, we have the traffic issues every 5 minutes, so thanks for waiting. Okay, so today we have some esteemed guests and speakers. I would like to call their names by line, and I'll introduce them later when they're speaking individually. We have the main speaker today is Mercedes Soria. Hi, Mercedes Soria. She's the Executive Vice President of Software Engineering and Chief Intelligence Officer at i4N, a robotic security company that combines self-driving technology, robotics, and artificial intelligence to predict and combat crime. Also, we have the US consulate members. Rob Anderson, the Public Diplomacy Officer. We have Amrita Dimelo, Public Engagement Specialist. We have Sunita Raiker, Senior Media Advisor. We have Elizabeth Orlando, Economic and Commercial Officer. Along with them, we have Ms. Sushita Reddy, who is the founder of Kunan and Machine Learning and Data Science of Pune. I welcome you all. I hope I hope you all deliver a great session here. So before we start, I'd like to call upon Gaurav Tripathi, the co-founder and group CEO in Innoplexus, to talk about Pune GPU community and Innoplexus. That's a round of applause, please.
Thank you, Shailja. Uh, Thanks a lot to all of you for being here and being patient with the inadvertent delays. Unfortunately, traffic situation in Pune is still bad, and given the rains and everything, yeah, so we are running behind schedule. But yes, thank you to all of you for being here. I've been asked to say something about Innoplexus in the GPU community. First, I'll say Innoplexus. Those who know, Innoplexus, we started in 2011, very much from Pune, and we started, and now we are backed by some of the largest family offices in July offices in India, and we are one amongst the top 10, 15 companies globally in licensing AI, depending on which list you look at. What we are doing, before that, I'll say why we are doing it. The vision is to cure the incurable diseases, helping pharma bring out the cures faster in the market, such that we are able to bring those cures to the patients a lot faster. And how it helps, definitely, we look at someday the impact of our work. It's going to save millions of lives globally. It's already is saving a lot of lives globally, but now as we see in the next few years, the impact is just going to grow 50-fold. We are headquartered in Frankfurt in Germany and have presence in Switzerland, US, East Coast, West Coast, and of course here in Pune, where the product technology engineering sits here. We have been fortunate enough that we got a chance, we got an opportunity to solve some of the most hated problems in life sciences. We have been working with top 30 pharma companies globally, top 5 CROs globally, solving challenges on early stage drug discovery and development. In the process, so we are very proud to have close to 200 patents in US and Europe, different areas around AI, computer vision, and so on. In terms of the compute, and why we came up with the GPU meetup. This is just our way to go back to the community. All of it that we built is very much with the help of the community, different people who came in to help us at different points of time. We wanted to give back. And with that, everybody has been talking about AI, but there was very little awareness around GPUs. And that's where last year we took an initiative to start the GPU meetup community in Pune. We are already 8 meetups old, and every month we have been holding meetups. The first meetup happened very much here. then just about 31 people, and now every week we have 200 plus people coming in from all over Pune, and in fact all the way from Mumbai and Bangalore as well. Last couple of meetups we have seen people coming traveling all the way from different cities to attend the meetups. We already see the community is making an impact. They're able to raise awareness around GPUs and bring up the right technical topics into mind that how to build AI. So we are not just talking about using AI, but how you can build AI. So that will be the focus at the GPU media community. We are helped, of course, by the community as well as some of the excellent team members at Innotexus who have been driving all of that work. And today is a special day where we have Mercedes and the team from this consulate here with us. So we are really looking forward. I have to mention this. If you have not checked out the company which Mercedes is representing, please do check out. They are doing some really fantastic work in security robots, and that's as cutting edge in technology that can get. So yeah, we all are excited. I'm excited to hear from her to hear what she's going to present to our work today. Thank you. Over to you, Mercedes.
Hi everyone, I am Sucheta. I am the founder of WRNTS Pune. We have been in this community for last 6 years, and many of you are here. You have attended our events. We used to have a flagship conference in collaboration with Stanford University on International Women's Day. The objective of this community is to encourage women into high-end technical roles and leadership roles. Although we encourage women, 50% of our community members, volunteers are men, so we don't discourage men, but we want to encourage more women. And this is one of the events where our objective is to feature female speakers, female role models, and females who have been successful in their careers, who are working in high technologies. So Mercedes is one of our role models, and she has traversed a lot of unconventional career paths. Being a physics student, she has moved into various technology roles. So the community is very excited to have her and listen from her. And we thank Innotexus for hosting this and sponsoring this venue, along with the GPU community whom we are collaborating. And thanks again, and you will see more sessions like this in future. With this, I welcome Mercedes. Everyone is very excited and curious to hear from you.
That's not cheesy on the screen.
मेरा करने बोल नहीं उन्होंने बोला
Everybody think me okay? Man, these tables is so short. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Mercedes Soria, And I'm going to give you an overview of how we're using generative AI in the United States, some of the trends that we have experienced there, how some companies have taken advantage of what generative AI is, and some of the things that we have to be very careful with, risks and pros and cons of using generative AI. So, and then at the end, I'm told that you all want to know about the company, Mexico, so I give you like the 30 seconds version of what we do. So let's get started. So generative AI. So what everybody's familiar with is machine learning algorithms. So this is not anything new. Machine learning started back in AI, started back in the 1950s. And the big changes that have now in this time allow us to make sure to make more use of large language models. So we have data patterns, the AI only feeds information, it looks for patterns in that information, and then it gives you an answer when you ask the question. So currently it's being used in a lot of fields and by a lot of startups. So in medicine is a good field, and I will go into more detail about that later. We have generally, we have paintings, we have words, so people are writing books based on with generative AI, and there's a lot of startups that are solving problems that require a lot of people to process data, and now they're saving a lot of time by having the AI process that data. So the improvements that have allowed us to get to where we are today is enhanced models like GPT-4. Now, GPT-4 is a model that costs about $63 million to train, and that includes the data labeling, that includes the infrastructure, and that includes the time of the people who train that model. So there's also important just context understanding. Before generative AI, you were able to ask an algorithm question and you would get an answer that was the end of the interaction. But now what we're able to do is the algorithm gives context, so you can do a bunch of questions for days and days, and you will understand everything that you have asked before and respond accordingly. It also has given us a lot of multi-language capabilities, and I will go into more detail about which company is using some of that. So one of the things that we have in Silicon Valley, does anyone know what is a unicorn? What they call a startup a unicorn? Does anyone know? So we call a unicorn a startup that is valued at $1 million. So every time somebody starts a company, the first thing that they want is to hit that $1 billion valuation. So, but now with generative AI, it's been said that some people could know a lot, that a solopreneur company, meaning a company of one person, is going to hit a valuation of $1 million with no employees because they're using generative AI. So we're all over there trying to figure out, okay, what's going to be the company, who's the solopreneur, so that's an interesting to point out. So one of the things that is happening is Gen AI is changing very quickly. It was, GPT was released in September 2022, and now we're less than 2 years later, and there's now some changes, for example, the GPT store that OpenAI created. And in about 3 months since they opened it, there have been 159,000 GPTs that have been created by creators, 159,000 agents that you can use to provide different services. It's being used in art, music, some of the uses in cybersecurity. For example, what you have today in cybersecurity is you have endpoints, which is your computer, your phone, and they all are potentially hackable. So what machine learning has done for a very long time, what they've done is they figure out what is the normal thing that happens in your devices, and if something doesn't match that pattern, they alert you. But what we can now do with generative AI is not only alert you that something happened, but actually take an action to solve that problem. Like, for example, closing your IP address, removing your computer from the network, and all those things can now be done with generative AI. There's some trends to talk about the changes first. So we started with GPT and people started using it. But one of the problems that people didn't know at the beginning was that any question that you ask the AI, it will send back to OpenAI for training. Every answer you got is sent to OpenAI for training. So what that became a problem was because there was an unnamed company, an unnamed a software engineer who wanted to make code with ChatGPT. So what did they do? They uploaded the whole code base to ChatGPT, and they asked them, hey, based on this code, please run me a function that does ABC. So that engineer got what he wanted, he got the code and it worked. But what he didn't know is that all of that source code of his company now was in OpenAI software. And there were other companies that were seeing this code because it was part of the training. So an answer for that is what we call the enterprise version of the LLM. Right? What that means is that instead of you, when you use ChatGPT in your phone or in your computer, instead of sending all the questions and the information to the cloud, you bring that model, you purchase it from OpenAI, and you install it in a centralized place that you own. For example, in your data center, or if you have a cloud infrastructure, you put it there, and all the questions that you ask, because you manage that model, stay within your model. So nobody's seeing the potentially sensitive information that you could possibly have in the model. There's also what is called micro models that are being used right now, especially for IoT. So for ChatGPT, there's a 305 billion number of parameters, which is a lot to train a model. But what people determined was it's just space too much compute and you can't put it anywhere. But what they have done is they have created micro models that are now only using, let's say, 70 million parameters, which is a lot considerably smaller, and you can put that in an app in your phone, you can put that in a computer, things like that. So that's what we call the micro models. And what that has given opportunity to is the creation of wearables. So now people have the watches that normally just tell you how many steps you took, how many calories you ate, and all those things. But now with GenAI, it gives you the trend for your whole year, and it gives you that information in a synthesized form that you can understand in a plain English that is conversational English. So there's also one of the main things that it has got to do is there's going to be, if you're in an incubator and you have an idea and you're not a technical person, you're not an engineer, you will have to find a CTO or a technical co-founder so they can write code. So now one of the biggest things in the US is the website called make.com. And what that does, it allows you to create a workflow of agents that do separate tasks. So the output of the first agent is the input of the second agent. And you basically can write websites without writing one line of code. You can write mobile apps. You can write all kinds of things without having to do one line of code. And that extends to things such as ChatGPT. So there's also the question here that, if I want to use ChatGPT, it costs me $20 a month. Or if I want to use the enterprise, which is pretty expensive. So that's when other models like Llama 3 or 3.1, which is created by Facebook, those are open source models. But as you probably already will know, there's benefits, there's disadvantages to using an open source model. And we'll go through that a little bit later. So the advantages of using it is it's a transparent model, everybody knows how it works. But the disadvantage is because everybody knows how it works, they can easily hack what you're building. So that's a problem. The advantage is community involvement. All of the updates to the model are made by global people who contribute to the model. But by that, the problem is that you download that and now you know what they did. So there's always risks and advantages by using open source models. So there's been how GenAI has impacted business. So there's several ways in which it has impacted business. I will give you one example of my company. So we have GenAI for the product, but we also have GenAI for the operations of the company. So I'll go ahead and tell you what we do. So we build security robots. So in the United States, there's about 390 million people, but there's only 1 million security guards and less than 1 million police officers. And the majority of the time what they're doing is just walking around. They walk around the mall, they walk around the casino, and nothing happens. And for that 1% of the time when they have to actually do something, you actually need a human. It cannot be automated. So our company decided to automate the monotonous part of the job because security guards actually hate their jobs. So they leave pretty often. Every 3 months you get a new team. So they have to be trained in your company, what are your security policies and all of that. So there's a massive waste of time and effort by companies that have security guards. So we automated that. We created a robot that is about this tall, and it has 4 cameras around it. It has a computer GPUs to process images and things like that. And what it does is automate that work. The robot runs around, it has autonomous technology, like you would find a level 5 driving self-driving car. It runs around and it captures video. And we have machine learning algorithms there that detect things like a person that is on the ground, which is not normal. It will detect high temperatures, it has sensors to detect gas and things like that. And only when there's an incident, then it notifies the human to come and actually take an action. So that is the part of the product that we have used GenAI for. In terms of the operation side of things, we have a robot which is a product, robots require maintenance. So what we've done is we fed all of the maintenance information that we have for every single robot into the algorithm to do what is called predictive maintenance. And that has allowed us to save about 20% in maintenance costs. And robots also go down because they can navigate or they run out of battery, things like that. We've been able to reduce the downtime of those robots by 50%. Because now we have models that are continuously looking at something wrong in the robot, looking at how it's functioning, and looking at what they have to fix the things that they need to be fixed. So that's a little bit about us. So there's GenAI being used in marketing. You all have personalized ads thanks to it. It's also one of the biggest, if you really want to get an advantage from GenAI, we do very little work. The perfect use case scenario is content creation. And we use that as well at Nextcode. So what we do is we have a GPT that we created. What it does is you enter a prompt and it gives you a social media calendar for a whole week for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or whichever other social media application you want. And you write it based on a blog or based on an image or based on a video. So it's going to be treated which normally we have to pay a social media agency to come and do that for us. And now we simply run the prompt, create a calendar, put an input suite. It takes about 30 minutes, and all your social media needs are completely covered for the company. So that has given us about 40% savings in our cost for social media. Okay, so we have some success stories in the United States. I'm assuming you have some success stories here too, but I got through the ones that we have. So I have about 3 of them. So Airbnb has been using machine learning to do the translation when a host is in one country and the person who rents the house with the apartment is a different country. So for them to be able to communicate in their own languages, there's machine learning that extends the translation when you actually write a message. But it was very buggy. There was a lot of misunderstandings that happened, and it just wasn't going very well. What they did is they implemented generative AI, GPT-4 specifically, and now there's more multi-language improvements that have been done in GPT, and the experience of that customer is now much better. The experience of the hosts are better, and the experience of the people that are coming to those houses have made better. So they improve the accuracy and speed of the translation that was typically before. We also have a success story from JP Morgan, which is the largest bank in the United States. So what they have to do is at the end of the year, you have to create a report that usually takes about 12,000 documents that somebody has to read and kind of summarize, and then at the end of the year, you create your report. This used to take 360,000 people, 360,000 hours of work, which if you do an 8 to 5 job, that's equivalent to 80 people that had to do that work all year long just to create that report. So what they did is, they got a GenAI algorithm, now they upload all of the documents there, and in a matter of seconds they have that report. Now the good news is, those 8 people were not fired. So they still have jobs. So, because that's the question that I usually get, they're like, what happened to those 18 people that are displacing people and things like that? They were given a different type of job and they're still working there. So there's ways to approach these things. There's some models that have done better than others, and I give you my top three. And each model has a different strength and a different weakness, and they're better for certain situations than for others. For example, Google Gemini is a very good algorithm for when you have different types of input. If you have videos, if you have text, then you have images, and you want to combine all of them to give one simple answer to a question, it allows for that to do it very well. And one of the main use cases is, for example, for medicine. Because if you're sick, you're going to have the notes from your doctor, you're going to have your chest x-rays, and you're going to have some pictures of, let's say, where reporting back that you're sick, right? It takes all that input and it gives you one sentence or it gives you a description of what you can potentially be suffering from. So that's what it's very good at. You just remember multi-model, and that's Google Gemini is the best for that. We also come down at 3.1 is the latest version of Meta's algorithm. And what that algorithm is very good at is scalability and efficiency. It's one of the most efficient algorithms. If you're thinking about putting something in a phone or in an IoT device, that's the best model to use. And also it's very scalable. And one of the things that it helps us do is if you have an application and what you need to scan a bunch of documents or a bunch of data, you need a real-time response that doesn't take forever, this is the best algorithm to use. And what is ChatGPT good for? You wonder, because all these other models are doing other things very well. So what ChatGPT is very good for is like conversational AI. It's trained in a lot of languages, and specifically is able to detect nuances in speech. For example, it determines how the person was writing, the text is spelling, and just text things like that in the language that other algorithms are not capable to do that. So to give you one example, there's an app in the United States called DOT, and what it does is if you have a psychologist or a counselor that you see often, and you go talk to them once a week, you tell them your problems and that sort of thing. What they did is they automated that with an app. So now instead of talking to your counselor once a week, you talk to your app whenever you want. It could be in the middle of the night, it can be in the morning, you can talk to it at any time if you want to, and it gives you advice that is derived from a lot of notes that were compiled during psychology sessions. So whether it's a great thing to do, it's still too early. The app was just released about 2 months ago. But the one thing that I will tell you is that in the US, I'm not sure what happens in India, but in the US, to see a counselor will cost you about $100 for every session that you see them. So you're spending $100, you're going every week, it's $400 a month. And these app cost only $11, and you can talk to whoever you want to. So that's one of the best uses that I've seen for ChatGPT for. So summary, Gemini is good for multimodal. Metas is very good for efficiency. ChatGPT is very good for conversations. There's also a lot of people that have tried to do things with generative AI and actually failed. So the first example is Tide. Does anybody remember the Tide chatbot? It was a Twitter chatbot from 2016. So you might remember it. So what it did is, Microsoft released it, and the whole idea was that it will learn from people and what they type. But what happened was that in less than 24 hours, people started feeding it negative thoughts, negative ideas, and the chatbot actually learned that. So it started posting tweets together that were not good. So Microsoft has to completely get rid of it in the first 24 hours that it existed. So that's one failure story. We also have the Amazon story. So what they did is, there's a lot of people who want to work for Microsoft, like a lot, like Microsoft and Amazon. They have so many people. So they had a lot of employees that were working in human resources. And they were just going through these resumes and trying to rank them and figure out it just took forever for them to go through all of that. So the businessman of them that was going to go through all of those resumes with a click of a button. But the problem was that rather than was created with bias. So every time we detected that it was a female resume, it would rank lower, and it would not present it to the actual hiring managers. So what they did is they tried to combat this bias by removing the name of the person in the resume. So you will know because if it's Mercedes, you know it's a female, right? So they remove the names. But there will be things like I was the captain of my female chess club. So just because that person was a female name, their resume was ranked lower than the male counterpart. So they quickly did away with it, and now they're just using people like they were using before that. We also have Apple Card. I don't know if do you guys have Apple Card here in India? No? Okay. But Apple has an Apple Card in the United States. And they work with, I think it's Goldman Sachs. Yeah. They work with Goldman Sachs. And what they do is, it's a very seamless application. You open the app on your phone, you enter your information, your name, your social security number, and it goes back and looks at your credit history, and it gives you a maximum amount of money that you can put in that credit card. And what happened was that it was not making it do assessment for females as well. It was giving them less credit lines than it was giving us. So there's another bias problem, and one that shows up repeatedly in LLMs. So creators of LLMs, be very careful of that one specific bias that exists in them. So some good practices to think about when you're using LLMs is make sure that your models are ethical. For example, deepfakes is not a good thing. Everybody knows that. If you're using DALL-E or you're using Midjourney to create fake videos, you shouldn't do that. You have to make sure that the models that you choose to use are created ethically and fairly. That goes with the transparency and explainability. So, for example, for a model to be accepted by people would like to know how it makes decisions, what kind of data it was used to train that model, and what are the controls that are put in place. So there's companies like IBM who created a tool based on Watson. And what it does is you send it a model and it determines those things. I mean, what data was used, it determines what kind of model it was using, and it determines all of the information that can be given to your users before they choose to use your model. There's also robust security measures that is a best practice. For example, there are people that go to the level of encrypting data that is key to the LLM. And that's actually a really good practice because if you were to choose to still use OpenAI's model, you can actually encrypt the data in order to be able to read that. So that's a good security measure that you can take. And another thing is, people sometimes think that you can train your LLM once and then you're done. But it's very important to keep training them. Especially if you're familiar with federated learning, it's very important that those models continue to be trained and the weights need to be passed over to the computers that are actually using the models. There are some do's and don'ts of GenAI. Some of these I've already covered. So you gotta ensure that there's data privacy is actually thought of before you start using your model. That you actually protect your customers' information, especially if you're giving driver license or if your application is giving looking at somebody's credit history or where they were born, or in the United States it's called private information. It's called PII. So private individual information is here, right? Thank you. Personally identifiable information. So that is information that with one element of information, you're able to determine immediately which human you're talking about. So for example, the picture of your face. If you must look at your face, then that's who you are. In the United States, we have driver license IDs. That's also protected. So all that information that can determine that there's a human, you should protect that information with encryption or not sharing that information. So also one of the don'ts, we talked about a couple of these already, is making sure that the data that you're using to train your LLM is not biased. Because what the LLM will do is actually enforce that bias and become even more biased with the results that it gives to you. Also, as we talked about not deepfakes, no malicious purposes. And one of the things that actually gets the users a lot is they completely rely on the algorithm. They don't even think about if this answer going to be correct that they gave you or it's not. They simply copy paste. And one of the best practices is don't trust the algorithm 100%. Don't blindly trust it. Always check the information that you receive back from the model. There's the concept of responsible AI, and that covers some of the stuff that we did. We talked about like biases, could be gender, could be race. One of the examples of this happened in Facebook. I'm sure you all use Facebook, and it tells you, okay, you got a picture with this person a year ago, and what it's doing is facial recognition in your pictures. And what happened was that the data that was used for training was faulty, and especially in the United States, women of their black race, Southern African American women, usually have very short hair. So they didn't train enough women, African American women with short hair. So when the algorithm was trying to choose who the person is, they always labeled that woman as a male because of the short hair. And that was all due to the fact that they didn't have enough pictures of women when they trained the algorithm. So another thing we talked about a little bit about this already, which is make sure that you build trust. The best way to build trust on your algorithm is if you make it transparent. That's where the Watson tool comes in that anybody can use, it's actually free to use, to tell people what exactly your algorithm is doing. You also should comply with all the laws and regulations. This is kind of a gray area at the moment because we're trying to pass laws that will do many things because of many problems that have been uncovered from the use of LLMs. For example, we're trying to figure out how do we protect the information. And one of the things that you have in the United States, if you are a pharmaceutical company and you're coming up with a new drug, there's something called the FDA, which is the Federal Drug Administration. They have a specific process you have to follow, and they have a specific gates that you have to pass before you can sell that drug to a human. So one of the conversations that's happening in Silicon Valley is creating an organization such as that, but specifically for generative AI. So there's control over what data is being used, there's control over what the models can and cannot do, and there's regulations that can be applied to the companies that have created those LLM models. Those regulations are not created yet, but there's people at the capital of the United States in Washington, D.C., and a lot of people from Washington, D.C., and congressmen and congresswomen have been coming to Silicon Valley to try to figure out how do we create this new organization that is going to do generative AI. There's a lot of benefits and there's a lot of risk of using AI. So we talked about this a little bit, exacerbation of bias, there's security threats, cybersecurity, you don't put your source code in the LLM and things like that, and you enhance trust by being very transparent. So some of the questions that people usually have is it going to save you money? Like, tell me how much money it's going to save you. And today I got a question in a presentation who said, somebody asked me, hey, I have a startup, I don't know what I'm trying to build, but tell me how quickly I can build it. And that was an answerable question. But something I can answer is, there was an extension report that was specifically based on content creation for social media. And the report said that there's about a 40% savings when you create your content via LLM. And it's also more efficient and it's more clear. McKinsey Company was looking at predictive maintenance, which is what I talked to you about when we won Expo, to determine when it's time to change a part in the robot. And they determined that the costs went down in maintenance by 20%, and those machines and the robots achieved the same thing we achieved on Expo, which was a reduction of downtime by 50%, which is a massive amount of reduction, especially when you have a business like business that we have, in which the robot has to be out 24/7. It's always working. So if you can reduce the amount of downtime by 50%, it's actually very important because otherwise you have to credit your customer because the robot wasn't working. There was a Gartner that they said by the end of 2023, if you know how you have chatbots when you go to a website, and a lot of companies now are doing customer service via those chatbots. They don't even give you a phone number to call. They want you to solve all the problems via those chatbots. And what Gartner came up with was an average savings of about $8 billion a year for companies that are using chatbots instead of customer service agents. So the savings are considerable, but it always also depends on what your use case and what are you trying to solve. So we have to also be careful in how we actually generalize this type of savings and results that have been created so far. So it's very easy for startups to save money with Gen AI. As I talked to you before, they're solopreneurs, and there's everything that can be done now by a human, almost can be done by Gen AI or an agent. So you can, when you come to startup, sometimes the first idea that you came up with is not feasible, or you find problems when you have it done. So what you have to do, the best thing that Silicon Valley does is just give up. If you will do a different idea. And by using generative AI, it's a lot easier to determine what that new idea should be. Because you ask the question, you present the problem, and you say, hey, how else could I do this? Or what other service could I provide with this foundation? So it allows for companies to be a lot faster in terms of what they do. It allows you also to find product market fit a lot sooner, because you all of the iterations that you're doing with your product and all the changes that you're making. So you don't have to be wasting your time on manual tasks. One example of this is a company called Autobound that I'm in the board of directors for. And what they did is sales people spend almost all day long sending emails to potential customers, try to sell something, and they have to go and read newspapers to find news about the company they're trying to email, the company they're trying to call. And what Autobound did is they're using an LLP to actually go to the internet and search for any new articles, news feeds, any tweets, any mentions of the companies that the customers try to reach, and the Autobound software will automatically write the first email. And it will say, things like, hey, congratulations, your stock went up by 0.6% yesterday, I would like to talk with you. So the salesperson uses that add-on to the email software, and you just have to do a click. The email is written, all you have to do is reread it, make sure that it is okay, and they send. And there's a lot of savings so that the company was able to achieve product get created about 3 months, which is completely unheard of for something like that. And we talked about generative AI is very new. There's a lot of things that regulations that are being created. So there's a lot of unknowns so far, but there's a lot of advantages as well. And one of the things that I want to leave you with is if you're going to use LLMs and if your product is going to have LLMs, always use responsible AI. Be careful with the data that you're exchanging, be careful with the data that you're taking in, and always protect it so it doesn't end up in the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. That was amazing. So now I think let's wait here so because we have a question answer session for which Gaurav will join you here. And any questions, guys? Yeah.
Do we get a mic or stand up?
A very wonderful and informative session. So I also work in a similar field, and we are developing a unified cybersecurity, compliance, and governance platform using basically generative AI on IBM WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So just wanted to really understand, you talked about ChatGPT, you talked about Gemini and all. How do you able to the Watson and the Copilot Microsoft for these kind of applications?
I mean, you know, I've experience with Copilot. I haven't used it, so I could learn that. I have experience with Gemini, with Llama, and with GPT. So I couldn't, if you ask me about Copilot, I couldn't make it up, but I haven't used it.
And anything on the WhatsApp part?
There was about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, not Q&A, we just do the presentation. So quick presentation here. They actually have to rush to Mumbai. So, yeah.
ना.
So we just do a registration and maybe you can Q&A you can continue. Okay.
And just a minute, since all of you're here, if you're waiting here, we'll start with.
Yeah. And along with it, there's a special announcement as well. So there is another community initiative that we are doing. We'll be getting information about it very soon. Yeah. So there is an interesting connection with the US, and that is why it's good that we have the US consulate presence here. So. The connection is with Chicago. So the way you are here today with us in 1893, on 11th of September, a monk from India traveled all the way to the Chicago World Parliament of Religion, and he made a speech there which shook the world. And that was Swami Vivekananda. The speech that he gave at World Parliament of Religion Chicago for the first time introduced the Western world, everybody to the idea of our civilization and to the Vedas. And what we are doing, we are going to commemorate the 131st anniversary of that iconic speech this year by doing a mass recital of the same speech. So we are aiming for a world record. That we want to set with 500 people coming together dressed in the same attire and reciting the same speech. So that is what we are aiming for. And it's really great that we have a few years that shows the connection. So we wanted to just give you information about that so that you can carry it with you. And yeah, we are ready for the presentation. Okay, please. I'll request Governor to please.
Maybe further, please you can come here too and this.
फोटोज इथं उभे राहून घे समोर.
Yeah. Mercedes, Rob, Elizabeth. Yeah, please.
Yes.
Please.
I'm sorry, given that you are in a rush, we are doing this also in quite a rush, otherwise we have done it.
We had a plan.
Rob, please. Can we have the dates?
पास करा. रोहित थोड़ा सा चेयर इस साइड के लिए. इथनच घे.
Guys, can we have a round of applause?